Hey everyone, and welcome back to Grifter or Gifted. You know the drill. We dig into the lives of some of today's most controversial figures and try to decide, are they changing the world? Or are they just lining their pockets? And today, we're diving deep into the world of Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've seen the movie, the yachts, the parties, Leo DiCaprio. But we're going beyond the Hollywood glitz and glam. We're going past the surface. And we're really trying to understand the man behind the myth. We've got biographical articles, excerpts from Belfort's own book, even some analysis of his Stratton Oakmont operation, all to answer that big question. Was he a visionary entrepreneur or a straight-up con artist?
I think what's so fascinating about Belfort is that his story really embodies that tension between charisma and controversy. It's that classic rags to riches to ruin tale, but then with the twist of reinvention, it's a wild ride.
Yeah, you're right about that. So, okay, let's unpack this. We're trying to figure out where Belfort falls on that spectrum.
Yeah.
And to do that, we need to go back to the beginning, like
Right.
way back.
Yes, exactly. Back to his early days. And what's interesting is that even as a teenager, Belfort had that entrepreneurial hustle. Like, there are stories about him making serious money selling Italian ice on the beach.
Wait, like serious money is in. How much are we talking?
$20,000 as a teenager.
Wow. Okay. So 20 grand selling Italian ice. You got to admit that takes some serious drive.
Oh, absolutely. There's natural sales talent there. But it also makes you wonder, even at that early age, was it pure entrepreneurial spirit, or was there a hint of, maybe bending the rules a little to maximize those profits?
That's such a good point. I mean, was he paying taxes on that Italian ice money? Did he even have the proper permits? Who knows? It's like a little microcosm of what's to come later.
Right. And then there's the whole dentistry school thing. He gets into dental school, which is no easy feat, but then drops out on the very first day.
Wait, the first day?
The first day, apparently. The dean gives this speech, says something like, "The Golden Age of Dentistry is over." And Belfort just nopes out of there.
He just decided, dentistry, not the path to quick riches.
It's like he had this internal compass, always pointing him away from anything that smelled like traditional, slow and steady success.
You know, it's funny you say that. Because after dropping out of dental school, he starts this meat and seafood delivery business. And he's actually pretty successful at it, moving tons of product every week.
He did. He really did.
But then, boom, the business fails. And he's filing for bankruptcy at 25.
Yeah. Another entrepreneurial venture. Another taste of both success and failure.
So do you think that these early setbacks shaped his trajectory towards Wall Street?
I think they definitely played a role. He clearly had the drive. The salesmanship. But maybe these early experiences, the ups and downs, made him even hungrier for that big win. Like he was looking for a shortcut, the fast track to wealth.
And that's where Wall Street comes in. He lands a job as a trainee stockbroker right before, get this, the Black Monday crash of 1987.
Oh, wow. Talk about bad timing. Starting your Wall Street career. And that kind of chaos, it must have been a baptism by fire.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Exposing him to the sheer volatility and potential for both profit and loss in the market.
And all of that eventually led him to start his own company, Stratton Oakmont.
Ah, yes. Stratton Oakmont. Which brings us to the heart of the Wolf of Wall Street legend. But before the movie, before the FBI raids, Stratton Oakmont was just this small brokerage firm on Long Island, a boiler room operation dealing in penny stocks.
Okay, so this is where things start to get really interesting and maybe a little shady. They're using these high-pressure sales tactics to inflate the price of these penny stocks, convincing people to buy in, driving up the price, and then dumping their own shares, making a killing while leaving investors holding the bag.
A classic pump and dump scheme, illegal, unethical, but for a while, very, very profitable. And this wasn't some small-time operation either. We're talking over 1,500 stockbrokers at its peak, generating over $1 billion in revenue.
And Belfort, he was living the high life, the mansions, the yachts, the parties fueled by drugs and excess. It's all there in his book. And the movie definitely captures that over-the-top lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. That lavish lifestyle became part of the Stratton Oakmont culture. It attracted these young, ambitious brokers, many without formal financial training. They were lured by the promise of quick riches and the magnetism of Belfort's personality.
Well, like any story that's too good to be true, it was all built on a very shaky foundation.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It was House of Cards, waiting to collapse.
And for Belfort,
Yeah.
the fall was just as dramatic as the rise. The FBI started investigating, Allegations of securities fraud, money laundering, the whole 9 yards.
And you have to remember, this was the late 80s, early 90s. The regulatory environment wasn't as tight as it is today.
Oh, right. So they were able to fly under the radar.
For a while.
Yeah.
For a while, yeah. But eventually, the walls started closing in.
Okay, so what happened?
Well, complaints started piling up. Former employees blew the whistle. And then the NASD, the National Association of Securities Dealers, they launched their own investigation.
They were in trouble.
Big trouble.
So what did they find?
By 1996, they had enough evidence to expel Stratton Oakmont.
Wow. So they basically shut them down.
Effectively, yeah. And then the FBI came knocking on Belfort's door.
So it was game over.
It was the beginning of the end. The FBI had been building their case for years, and once Stratton Oakmont was gone, Belfort and his associates were much more vulnerable.
So he gets caught,
Mm-hmm.
facing charges that could have put him away for decades.
Yeah.
And that's when he makes a decision that would shape the rest of his life. He decides to cooperate with the authorities.
A controversial move, to
Yeah.
say the least.
Yeah. I mean, some people saw it as a betrayal, others as a necessary evil. It makes you wonder, was he genuinely remorseful or just trying to save his own skin?
It's a question that continues to haunt his narrative even today.
For what happened next?
In 1999, Belfort pleaded guilty to securities fraud and money laundering. He
Yeah.
ended up serving 22 months of a 4-year sentence. Yeah. And he was also ordered to pay, get this, $110 million in restitution to the investors he defrauded.
$110 million.
Yeah.
That really puts into perspective the real-world consequences of his actions.
Absolutely. This wasn't just a Wall Street game. It devastated thousands of lives.
So often,
Yeah.
we get caught up in the movie's depiction
Mm.
of the excess, the outrageous behavior.
Yeah.
But behind all of that, there's a story of real financial and emotional devastation for a lot of people.
You're right. It's a story that often gets overshadowed.
So Belfort goes to prison,
Yeah.
and while he's there, he meets Tommy Chong, the comedian.
I did not know.
Yep, and Chong encourages him to write about his experiences,
Yeah.
believing there's a powerful story there.
Interesting.
And that's exactly what Belfort does. He writes The Wolf of Wall Street,
Mhm.
a memoir detailing his rise and fall. And it becomes a bestseller.
Hmm.
But it's a complicated read.
In what way?
Well,
Yeah.
it's a mix of confession and self-aggrandizement. He admits to his crimes,
Yeah.
but also seems to kind of revel in the excesses of his past.
Yeah. It's a
Right.
strange mix.
And then in 2013, the book gets adapted into a movie, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio as Belfort, and it becomes a box office smash.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. It catapulted Belfort back into the spotlight, but it also reignited the debate about his legacy. Was he a villain, an anti-hero? Was the film glorifying his crimes or offering a cautionary tale?
It's a really good question, and maybe the most important question,
Yeah.
is what did Belfort do with this renewed attention? Because the story doesn't end with the movie.
You're right. What did he do?
Well, he reinvents himself
Mm-hmm.
as a motivational speaker, touring the world, giving talks on sales techniques,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, even the dangers of unethical behavior.
Wait, so the man who built an empire on deception is now trying to teach others how to succeed ethically?
It does seem a little ironic.
It does. So is this genuine transformation or just another calculated move?
Right.
Some people see him as a reformed character, someone who learned from his mistakes and is trying to make amends. Others see it as a cynical attempt to cash in on his notoriety.
Especially since he's reportedly charging up to $80,000 for some of these motivational speaking engagements.
Wow.
And then there's his straight line system, his sales training program, which he claims is based on ethical persuasion techniques.
Mm.
But some critics argue that it's just a rebranded version of the high-pressure tactics
Mm.
he used at Stratton Oakmont.
Interesting.
And there are also questions about his claim of giving 100% of his book and film royalties to the victims of his crimes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, it's true that he agreed to pay 50% of his income towards restitution as part of his plea deal. There have been accusations that he hasn't fully honored that agreement.
Oh, wow.
Federal prosecutors even filed a complaint against him in 2013 for allegedly failing to make sufficient payments.
So his post-prison life hasn't exactly been a clean slate.
Not really. And then there was that whole Australian training scandal in
Yes,
2015 where he partnered with a company called Face-to-Face Training, and things went south with accusations of unpaid fees and misrepresentation.
It sounds like his past keeps catching up to him.
It does. So where does that leave us?
Hmm.
Was Jordan Belfort a visionary entrepreneur or a master manipulator?
I mean, it's a tough one, right?
It really is.
Because on the one hand, There's no denying his talent, his charisma,
Yeah.
his ability to build something from nothing.
Right. He was a master salesman, no doubt about it.
But on the other hand, the way he achieved that success,
Right.
the lives he impacted, it's hard to overlook that.
Yeah. It's definitely a mixed bag.
It really is. I think it's that combination of ambition, salesmanship, and just a blatant disregard for ethics that makes his story so captivating and so troubling.
So when we try to figure out
Mm-hmm.
if someone like Belfort is a grifter or gifted,
Mm-hmm.
a visionary or a con artist, what are we really looking at?
I think it's a combination of things. First, you got to look at their motives. What drives them? Is it a genuine desire to create something new and valuable? Or is it purely about personal gain, no matter the cost?
Okay. So motives are important.
Definitely.
What else?
Their actions. How do they achieve their goals? Are they ethical, transparent, or are they built on deception, manipulation, exploiting loopholes?
Right. Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. Their legacy. What impact do they have on the world? Do they leave behind a positive and lasting contribution? Or is it tarnished by the harm they caused?
That's a great framework.
Mm.
And I think when you apply it to Belfort, it's not an easy answer.
It's not black and white. There are elements of both. He had a gift for sales, for building businesses, for motivating people.
But
he used those gifts in a way that ultimately hurt a lot of people.
and even his attempts at redemption, they're kind of clouded in controversy. It's almost like he's still trying to profit from his past,
Yeah.
even while claiming to have changed.
It's complicated.
It really is. So
Yeah.
I guess the question remains, grifter or gifted? What do you think?
I think that's for each of us to decide.
Yeah. We've laid out the facts, the rise, the fall, the reinvention. Now it's up to you to decide, where does Jordan Belfort land on that spectrum? For me, I'm still on the fence. There's no doubt he was a brilliant businessman, but the way he achieved that success leaves a lot to be desired. And even his attempts at redemption feel a little bit calculated. Wait, that's just my take. What about you? What do you think? Let us know on social media. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring. And remember, sometimes the most fascinating figures are the ones who defy easy categorization.